All right, and then I guess we got to give a quiet clap. Okay, that should be good. We got two of them. He really wanted to do that.
That was the highlight of his experience.
I really did.
All right, so another episode of Gathering of Fools, and today we have my good friend Amanda Gill. You may recognize that name for all the promotions we do for Empowered Yoga. And actually, we have a guest sitting behind the scenes, Trey Ikes, my good friend, Amanda's boyfriend, and Jacob nor Carl could be here, so Trey said he would fill in and help us out behind the scenes. Thank you, Trey.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Amanda, I do want to start with you going ahead and giving out all your social media and stuff that you would want to put out there for people.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. I always appreciate you leading your podcast with
Oh,
the
yeah.
business. It's a huge help. Small businesses in the area,
Yeah, well, absolutely. You gotta help out your friends when you can, right?
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. Absolutely. My Instagram handle is @empowered.yoga, and my personal account is amanda.m.gill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you want to throw the Facebook out there and
Yep, it's the same thing. Empowered Yoga.
And do you have a website?
Yeah, the website's pretty updated. I've been working on it over quarantine with all that free time we've had. So it's actually www.empowered.yoga.
Okay, empowered.yoga, just like the Instagram.
Try to keep it streamlined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like to make things simple.
So we were talking beforehand. You were a little nervous.
Oh, super nervous.
Yeah.
I told Dave that I write much better than I speak. So
Yeah, she brought up the idea of possibly me asking her a question, then her getting time to write it out, and then we'd go from there.
yeah, he even gave me a notepad. So
We'll see how it plays
we'll
out.
see how it goes.
But some ways that we like to just loosen things up and also let the audience get a chance to know you is to start with like top 5 movies.
For sure.
So how do you feel about that?
I told Dave that you could ask me tomorrow what my top 5 movies were, and I would tell you something totally different. So
Yeah, I think that happens with a lot of people, though. So I don't think you're alone in that boat.
No, definitely not. Trey was also asking me what my top 5 movies were, and I refused to tell him before this because it has to be a surprise for everybody. I think my top 5 might be today, leading with Avatar.
So are you calling Avatar your number one?
Today, yeah.
Yeah,
I
today.
think that
For today, that's my number one.
Avatar, yeah. I was really, Dave told me, okay, so to just let everybody else know, Dave asked me to be on the podcast, like, what was that, like 3 months ago?
It was quite a while ago. Yeah.
Maybe January?
January
is now 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So
It's been a while.
Yeah, I was supposed to be on the podcast like 6 months ago, and he asked me my top 5 movies, and I freaked out. I had no idea what my top 5 movies were going to be.
I think there was a little bit of freak out, maybe just kind of in general.
In general, yeah.
Which is kind of weird because, I mean, you teach a yoga class. You talk to people all the time. Even on your social media, I mean, we'll get into this later, but you used to have a little makeup business thing you did. You were constantly online talking to people.
Yeah.
But you were nervous for this.
I was nervous for this because the space that I'm in now. The space that I'm in now is way different than the space that I was in when I did the makeup business, which we'll get into later.
Okay.
But, yeah. I think that, you can wear different masks for different things.
Oh, yeah.
And masks are very easy.
And we're not talking about makeup.
Not talking about makeup. And I feel like talking to you personally on a podcast is you take all your masks off, and that makes me nervous.
I'm not even sure I have any masks left. I think I threw them all away.
The bourbon probably did that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just drink bourbon and everything just comes to exactly who I am.
Yeah.
Takes me to my core.
Gets down to it.
Yeah. I feel like that's all I say anymore is bourbon. Bourbon? Bourbon.
Your name should just be Dave Bourbon Hammer.
Dave Bourbon Hammer.
Yeah.
Just get rid of the James middle name.
Yeah, you might even want to just get rid of Hammer.
Just Dave Bourbon.
Just Dave Bourbon.
I feel like that's a pretty good marketing scheme.
You might be onto something. Yeah. Gathering of bourbon.
Gathering of bourbon. All right. So you said Avatar for your first movie. I do want to get to that because I love Avatar.
I love Avatar.
I think it's a storyline that has been used over and over again, but they did it really, really well.
They just did it well. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I love a lot of the actors in there. The guy, I can't remember who plays the main guy. Can you pull that up on IMDb, Trey? I can't remember that guy's name.
No,
but,
same.
And then Zoe Saldana.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Amazing.
Sigourney Weaver.
Yes.
Whoever plays the asshole general or colonel or whatever he was,
Yeah.
he's also phenomenal. He played the perfect bad guy in that.
Yeah, I think that just the whole movie was just done well.
Yeah. I think my only complaint is that it's taking us so long to get the sequels.
Yes.
Like, I'm ready. Can we just have those now?
Yeah. Is that still even a thing? Are they still going to have a sequel?
Yeah. They have them planned through like 6, I think.
6.
It's between 4 and 6 they have planned out. Yeah.
Can we just make that happen now? Because I feel like,
Right.
what year did that come out?
Oh, years ago. It's taken.
2009.
Yeah,
Wow.
2009. It's taken.
Sam Worthington.
Wait, Sam Worthington. That's his name. I like him a lot. He does a great job.
Sorry, I'm having a little bit of an issue with this computer.
That's all right. I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Yeah, I will.
But yeah, I'm a huge fan of this movie. James Cameron does just a lot of amazing things. Obviously, Terminator, all those ones from the past, but he really hit a home run with this. And one thing I heard about this is he actually has had this in his back pocket for years and years before he actually made this movie. But technology wasn't advanced enough for him to be able to make it the way he wanted.
100%.
Yeah, because it's visually stunning.
Oh.
If you watch it for no other reason, watch it just to see
Yes.
the landscape.
And that's what impressed me the most to begin with. I watched the movie because I heard how impressive just all of the digital effects were. And I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh, this story is just this could resonate with so many people.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing.
It's, and it was the only movie I truly enjoyed, and maybe the only movies I'll ever watch again in 3D as well.
Yes.
Because since I don't wear contacts, you know how hard it is for me to watch 3D movies? I have to put glasses over glasses. And it looks great, I'm sure, but
I
it's
actually
annoying.
have never seen it in 3D.
Oh, really?
No.
I've seen a couple movies in 3D, and then I finally said I'm not doing it anymore. But Avatar was well worth watching in 3D.
I'll have to try that out.
Yeah, we went up to, I can't remember if we went to the one where that has a bar and you can drink in the movie
Like
theater.
Lowe's Theater?
I can't remember if we went to Lowe's. Yeah. Which, have you seen that place? They really let it go.
No, I haven't. I haven't been there for
It's
maybe
trashed.
6 years.
It is trashed.
Really?
They did not take care of it. It's so unfortunate because it was such a cool little place. You know, you can hang out at a bar for a little while, then go into the movie, and if you're in one of the right theaters, then you can actually bring alcoholic beverages in with you, which does cause some problems. You miss some of the movie because you got to pee. You also need another drink. You got to take somebody with you that doesn't care about the movie and just be like, hey, go get another round.
Dave Bourbon.
Dave Bourbon.
Coming to you.
Yeah. Maybe I do have a problem.
I think that's another podcast.
That's another podcast. We'll break down my psyche with an actual doctor
Recovering
someday.
fools.
yeah, full recovery. Oh, shit. All right, so what's the next movie you got on there?
I have Deadpool.
Oh, I love Deadpool.
Yeah. I don't really get into all the like Spider-Man, Batman. Like I just don't. It's never been my thing, but I love Deadpool.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so unique.
Yeah.
And it seems like a role that Ryan Reynolds was literally born to play.
I really think that I will never see Ryan Reynolds the same way.
Yeah.
After that movie.
Yeah, and I think it's almost like without the murdery and all that. I think it's almost like just who he is. I could see him just being like sarcastic.
He like came alive in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love him in most things I see him in, though. He's great at comedy. He can hit drama. He can do a little bit of everything. But in that one, it's just straight action and comedy. Yeah. And let's be honest. He's built for action as well. I mean, when he's doing those movies, he looks like a fucking action figure.
For sure.
Yeah. And I love the other guy in there, like his comedy sidekick, T.J. Miller.
I knew you were going to bring I knew you were going to bring that up.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Anything else to say on that one?
Not Deadpool, no.
Okay.
No. Secondhand Lions.
Oh, wow. You're really going for it with Haley Joel Osment, and I think he was the kid in that. And then
yes, you're right. Yeah.
Harvey Keitel, I believe.
I had
not Harvey Keitel.
I got here.
Robert Duvall.
And I actually saw that movie you have over there. It said Lion on it. And I was like, oh, I love Secondhand Lions.
It's
I like
really
almost
good.
forgot about that movie.
Honestly, I've kind of forgot about it as well. It's been so long since I've seen it. Michael Caine is also in it. Man, it's got a lot of people in it.
Yeah.
You're really struggling with that computer, huh?
It's a little slow. Sorry.
It's all right.
I'm just used to having a Mac, and it's just different. That's all.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I wish I had Macs. To be honest, it'd make my life a lot easier. But they're like 4 times the price. But But I love this movie. I'd like to read the synopsis because it's been so long since I've seen it. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of imagination in here, right?
Yeah, I really just like the storyline. I think
A coming-of-age story about a shy young boy sent by his irresponsible mother to spend the summer with his wealthy, eccentric uncles in Texas. It's really one of those feel-good stories.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like any Will Smith movie you watch.
Yeah. I can't wait to watch this again now because it's been so long. But I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, man, that was a really great movie.
Yeah,
it
was
came
a
out of
great
nowhere.
movie. Yeah, and for some reason, when I thought of this movie, it reminded me of Gran Torino. Like for some reason, I thought that
like the one where he's like fighting gangsters off.
Yeah. I don't know why. Maybe,
seems a little different.
Maybe just the fact that he's holding a shotgun on the cover like reminded me.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, Gran Torino for some reason. I think that would be a top 5 on a different day, but it's not on this.
But
list.
it's not on this list today.
Yeah.
Well, I really like that pick. That movie has not been brought up on any of the podcasts, and there's been, we're creeping up on 50 episodes. I think this will be the 41st. So, yeah, well, some of those are MMA fools, some of those are Bastards of Bourbon. But regardless,
so you probably have like 40 Bastards of Bourbon. This is the first Gathering of Fools.
Well, no.
I'm just kidding.
It might seem like that because I'm usually drinking bourbon.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right, so what do you got next on there?
Next is I'm sure you've had this before, but fried green tomatoes.
Actually, I don't know if anybody's brought it up. It is one of my all-time favorites. I love that movie.
I do too.
What are their names? Kathy Bates is in it, first of all, who's always incredible, great actress. I want to know that old lady's name. What is her name? Go down. Because she's amazing. Mary Stuart Masterson. Jessica Tandy is her name. She is incredible. And then Mary Louise Parker, Mary Stuart Masterson. A very different movie, long movie, but it's incredible. It has to do just with these girls' life and their friendship, and man, it deals with so many different aspects: racism, domestic abuse, murder, justified or not.
And what movie or what year did this come out?
I'm not really positive.
1991.
Yeah, so really early for a lot of the topics of
Oh
racism.
yeah. When were you born?
92.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
God, I'm fucking old.
Baby.
I'm an old ass man.
I feel like all my friends are older though, so
Well, that's because we're cooler when we're older. Probably not true. Scroll down a little bit. I actually want to read the synopsis on this one too, because I know I'm not giving enough justice. A housewife who is unhappy with her life befriends an old lady in a nursing home and is enthralled by the tales she tells of people she used to know. It's really incredible. I highly recommend. So far, every movie you've had on here, I highly recommend everybody watching. This one might be my favorite one on your list, though, so far.
Sweet.
Yeah, I love this one a lot.
I feel like it's good to bring it up. I feel like, even people my age might have never have.
Oh, I think that's a high possibility. Yeah. And what's a Tawanda? Wasn't that like the slogan they would say in there? If I remember correctly, she'd be like, Tawanda! Anyway, doesn't matter. But it's an amazing movie. I highly recommend everybody watch it. It has a lot of personal love for me because me and my dad used to watch this all the time.
I used to watch with my grandma.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Nice.
She's the one that introduced it to me.
Nice.
I was trying to think of the other movie that we used to watch with this one, like on replay, and I couldn't think of it.
Yeah, just make sure you stay in that mic a little bit. You're off to the side.
I couldn't think of the movie that we used to watch with this one. Name another movie that came out like the same time that was really popular.
Do you remember any of the people in it or anything?
No.
Yeah.
No, I do. Maybe it was Sister Act.
Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg?
Yeah, maybe we used to watch Sister Act with
Sister Act is a quality comedy. Mm-hmm. I always enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Sister Act 2 is also pretty decent.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like Forrest Gump should also be on this list, but I feel like that's a given. Like
don't tell Mary Decker.
Why?
She hates it.
She hates Forrest Gump.
She hates Forrest Gump. I'm pretty sure she hates Tom Hanks, to be honest with you. We've talked about it on this podcast a few times.
Why?
At one point I made the insensitive joke saying that I think she actually, because Tom Hanks got COVID, I said I think that she actually created the virus to get Tom Hanks.
Oh my gosh. Why? Mary, we can't be friends anymore. I officially unfriend you.
Well, the reason we decided that we think she hates Tom Hanks is because then she found out he was playing Mr. Rogers, and she was like, he is not Mr. Rogers. And I'm not sure who the hell else would play Mr. Rogers besides Tom Hanks. Any ideas out there?
So does Jacob also hate Tom Hanks?
No, but I do. I can't remember if he said that he kind of agrees with her on that he doesn't like Forrest Gump as much. I know her husband doesn't like Forrest Gump as much, John, but it's so weird to me. I think it's a phenomenal movie, great soundtrack, deals with all kinds of different weird issues.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think I know anyone who doesn't like Forrest Gump.
Well, you do now, and
Wow.
it's such a letdown, isn't it?
This is a giant light into the life of Mary.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a talk with her.
Just figure out what's going on in that psyche.
Yeah, we're gonna have like a sit-down yoga meeting. Like, okay, Mary, let's be aware of why we don't like Tom Hanks.
It's so weird. I actually even said one time, because she said, maybe I should give it another chance. And I said, hey, if you do, just don't say that it was because of me that you gave another chance, because I can see John coming home, the TV being destroyed, and being like, what happened? He'd be like, try to watch Forrest Gump again, and I just threw the bottle of wine at the TV.
I couldn't do it.
Especially if she's had a couple of wines. She gets pretty aggressive with her hate for Forrest Gump.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe this has never been brought up in my presence.
Oh man, it's funny. We talk about it quite often. Like, are you even American if you don't like Tom Hanks?
I don't think so. No. I feel like I just found out a whole new side of Mary.
Yeah, and you're not happy about it, right?
No. And for everyone who doesn't know, I've worked with Mary for like 7 years, so this is a whole new aspect.
It's crazy. 7 years it never came up.
Yeah. I feel like it's like a marriage, and then you find out, your significant other has like this fetish with
with feet or something. Yeah. And you're like, oh no, I can't.
No.
I can't deal with
This
this.
is over.
I thought this was a great relationship.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
That's hilarious.
Oh.
That was a great reference. I really love that. Oh shit! All right, what's the last one on your list over there?
I'm not even sure I can continue.
Podcast over.
It's over.
My whole world has gone awry.
The whole world has just come down on me.
Shit.
My last one is a kids movie. And there's a tie. I have a slash on the list.
Okay.
Only because I used to watch them at the same time. I don't know if anyone else. I feel like I should ask everyone that has ever watched either of these movies to personally message me, because we could be friends. Anyone who's ever heard of Once Upon a Forest, and before we started recording, we had probably like a 15-minute conversation trying to figure out what this movie was called.
Yeah, because if you try to Google certain aspects of it, it comes up with a lot of similarities between that and Secret and M.
So Trey just pulled up the visual for the movie, and even just seeing the cover of the movie like makes me happy, because if you haven't seen it, it's just this really cute kids movie about these like mice that like save their friend by going on this giant voyage to find this special medicine. It's just a really cute movie. But it's like one of those movies that makes you think your childhood and you instantly are happy.
Yeah, I love movies like that.
Yeah.
You know what's weird is I don't have a ton of cartoons like that. I just have movies like The Rookie, which is a baseball movie with a kid, and just more realistic, not realistic, but Angels in the Outfield, stuff
I feel
like that.
Those are also top 5 movies.
You know what's crazy is Angels in the Outfield you cannot even find on DVD. I've tried, I don't know how many times. I
don't think I've ever tried.
I gave up the fight to try to find it on Blu-ray, and then I was like, I'll just get it on DVD. Can't find it on DVD either.
Really?
And it's not on the Disney Plus platform.
How is that even possible?
How is that possible? Did they lose this movie? I don't understand what happened.
I can remember that movie like it was yesterday. Like, I feel like I haven't seen it in probably like at least 15 years. But
yeah. And how do you not love Tony Danza, right? Come on.
I feel like I could get you this movie if you really need it.
I do. I really, really need it. DVD or Blu-ray.
How about just file?
Oh, well, yeah, I'll take a file of it.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll take a file of it.
It's actually really scary. Like, if you tell Trey that you can't find something, he is like the best at actually finding whatever you are looking for.
He's like Sherlock Holmes of items.
Terrifying. Yeah. And sometimes you don't ask where they came from.
Yeah, you just let it be.
Yeah.
It's real black market
yes,
stuff.
like, thank you for getting me this.
We're about to get Trey arrested.
Yes.
You'll never find me.
That's great. Oh god.
But it's tied with, so that movie Once Upon a Forest is tied with the movie We're Back.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that?
A long time ago. Yeah. I remember Once Upon a Time, or Once Upon a Forest more than I remember We're Back. But yes, I have seen it.
We're Back was one of those movies that just made me feel good. As a kid, I actually had this rabbit that my grandparents got me as a baby because I couldn't sleep. It had herbs in its belly that would help me sleep. And this rabbit, as I grew, I kept it with me. It was like a security blanket thing, and I named it Rex.
Oh, nice.
Because of this movie.
So you named a rabbit after a T-Rex.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. I'm more of a T-Rex person than a rabbit person. So if that tells you anything about my personality.
That's hilarious.
Yep.
More king of the jungle than let me sneak in here and grab a carrot.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a little bit. And I still have that rabbit.
Nice.
Its tail has been sewn back on 6 times and its ears falling off.
Does it still stay in the bed with you?
No, it doesn't. I don't push Trey out of bed so that it can sleep with me.
Yeah, Trey, you gotta get out of here. Give me my rabbit time.
It's understandable.
Oh man, that's funny. My mouse movie is probably it's Fievel. I forget what the two are called.
Yeah.
Fievel, Mousekewitz,
Yeah.
and American Tail.
American Tail and Fievel Goes West. I love them both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big fan.
Yep.
Those might be cartoons that remind me of my childhood. Which it's kind of funny because at the time I kind of hated American Tail, and now I go back and watch it and I love them.
I'm the same way with American Tail.
Really?
I hated it.
Yeah. It's like it was too serious.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Do you ever have movies that you watch and you can, you remember the exact moment, you watched it the first time? And, you can, just relate, smells or, things that you were doing at the time,
Sadly, no. It might just be because of my amount of movie intake. They say your brain only has so much storage space. And, I mean, as you can tell by maybe the movies back there, and that's not even, probably half the movies I've actually watched.
Yeah.
I think I've seen too many.
I remember when we were younger, I would just, if I couldn't find a movie at Blockbuster, I would just go to your house.
Yeah. My dad had quite a collection.
Everything.
Yeah. That was our thing. We watched movies a lot,
Yeah.
a couple a week for sure. Sit down, family time, watch a movie.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Yeah.
That's what made me start my collection, though. After my dad passed away, I was like, you know what? I want to do the same thing. I've slacked on buying some recently. Part of that's ones I get a lot of the new ones. I haven't found a lot of new ones I like. Ones I do see, I do buy. And then also, spending money on podcast equipment and bourbon. I don't know if you can see the shelf over there. It wasn't a cheap venture.
Yeah, Dave's got bottles of bourbon over here that are at least 15 movies deep. When movies first come out when they're $25.
Yeah, for sure. And I can't stop. I'm hoping to get these 2 rare bottles on Tuesday. We'll see. Ambassador Bean's trying to get them for me.
Ooh.
I don't know if he's going to Kentucky or not. He'll just take off on these road trips to Kentucky or wherever. And the last time where he got me some of the ones for the Jefferson tasting, I just got a text from him one day. He goes, "Hey, I bought $400 worth of bourbon today. You want it?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, probably."
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah. I do have a whole podcast revolving around bourbon now, so sure.
Right.
You saying he went to Kentucky to pick some of that up reminded me of another top 5 that I would probably have for another day.
What would it
The
be?
Mule. Is that the name of the movie? The Mule? Is it The Mule?
Oh, yeah, with
Clint Eastwood?
Clint Eastwood.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't actually watched that one.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, it was really good.
I like most things that he does.
If it's got Clint Eastwood in it, it's good. This movie, though, in particular, he plays a very what's the word I'm looking for? He's unaware of what he's doing at first.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
okay.
very unaware.
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Naive?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, naive.
Yeah.
Very naive to what's going on.
Yeah, it's a different role for him, and I liked it.
Yeah, well, he's amazing. I mean, and he even makes a bunch of amazing movies. He actually, at one point in time, he was pumping out movies so ahead of schedule and so under budget that it actually, I can't remember what studio it was, but it saved one of the studios during a time where movies were kind of on the downturn.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an amazing person in cinema.
Yeah.
All around, director, producer, everything.
He's probably one of those people that I would like to just sit at a table with and say, "Hey, how's your life?"
Absolutely, just talk to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find out what kind of bourbon he likes.
Yeah. Maybe we can invite him on the podcast.
Yeah, maybe he'd like to be on Bastards of Bourbon.
Can you imagine?
Oh my God, I'd lose
Guest
my mind.
star.
I'd be tripping over my words constantly.
Yeah, no,
I wouldn't even know what to do.
You just pass out.
I'm just staring at him.
Can I come take pictures for that one?
Yeah, for sure. If I ever get Clint Eastwood on, you're here. I'm sure I won't even be able to fit everybody in this room.
I'm going to write that down. Can you sign it?
Yeah, you need a binding contract.
Yeah, I need a binding contract.
Trey, you're a notary, right?
In West Virginia and Ohio.
See? Perfect. We'll get this contract done right now. Oh, man.
I hope this podcast reaches Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, I'll make sure I tag him in it.
Yeah, tag him in it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got all the social media.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's all about that selfie life.
Can you imagine?
He's just walking around with one of those sticks.
Can you look that up? Can you look up Trey or Clint Eastwood selfies? I want to see if he even has one now. I need to know.
I can look it up.
That's fucking great. He does a lot of great war movies too.
Clint Eastwood has.
Oh, all right. There's some selfie
right.
action.
Selfie or two
Look
in
how
his-
confused
in
he
his
is
time.
on this talk show, looking at this phone. He's like, "What in the fuck is this thing you just handed me?"
Why do
Well,
people
I think
use
this is my
these?
favorite right here.
Yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
I bet that's not his iPhone.
No. Do we know how old Clint Eastwood is?
What does that say? What did the headline say? Clint Eastwood would prefer not to take a selfie with Jimmy Fallon.
I would prefer not to take a selfie with Jimmy Fallon, I think.
I don't know. I like Jimmy Fallon.
I'd be all over that.
Yeah,
selfie.
he's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take it back. I'll take it back.
It's like I'm obviously outnumbered
Aren't
here.
you a behind the scenes guy?
Yeah, we're gonna need you not to talk anymore.
We're gonna need you to silence. Silence.
Oh
Clint
man,
Eastwood is 90 years old.
Jesus, still pumping out movies, huh?
Yeah.
That's
Still
fucking
amazing.
crazy.
May 31st.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hate to do this, but I'm gonna have to use the restroom because I have a 90-year-old bladder. So you and Trey keep it
Okay.
going for a second.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see how it
That'll
goes.
be
We have
interesting.
to talk to each other.
I know that's probably not preferred since you like live together and stuff, but you're gonna have to figure it out.
Okay, we usually avoid each other at all costs. It's how our relationship thrives.
He's just staring at me at the
I'm
current
just
moment.
staring at her, and it's awkward. We really don't talk that much.
We talk a lot about topics.
We do.
Yeah. So.
Let's talk about the worst movies we've ever seen.
Oh God. The worst
which has,
movie. No, I have to say it because Trey picked it. Trey,
Whoa.
whenever we lived separately, Trey brought this movie over to my house, and he was like, "I found the coolest new movie. It's got really great ratings." I thought he was gonna pull it up on the screen here, but
Oh yeah, you want to pull the movie up?
I
Okay.
think you should pull it up. So he brought his little, USB over because Trey is the finder of all things that are unfound. And he brought this movie over and he was like, "This is a really great movie. We should watch this." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, of course." Because he picks the movies. They're usually great. And he brings this movie over called The Lighthouse.
In my defense, Rob Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, two very pretty good actors, okay? The concept of the movie is great.
Did you just say Robert Pattinson?
Robert Pattinson.
That was not Robert Pattinson.
It was Robert Pattinson.
You're
the
kidding
young
me.
guy in that movie was Rob Pattinson.
I did not. Okay, so Dave's back here, and
Dave's
we're gonna
back,
we're gonna have
and
a conversation
we're talking about the
this.
5 worst movies of all time.
Well, and I can tell you that was definitely Robert Pattinson.
And
Did you watch it?
No,
Oh.
I've heard all about
Don't
it.
Thank
Though.
God.
watch it.
Don't watch it.
Okay.
It is
Whatever
the-
you do, don't watch that movie.
But it's one of those movies that we got into, and we were like, we can't stop watching this because we have to know what happens. We have to know how this movie ends.
Yeah, I heard it's pretty weird and demented. I heard they start drinking like kerosene lamp
Yes.
fluid and
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
In case everybody's wondering, I just motioned to Dave.
like apparently there's a lot of masturbation
Yeah,
going
there's a lot
on.
of
Yeah,
masturbation
there
in
was-
the movie.
That's awkward.
It
Yeah.
is,
it was very awkward.
Was this one of the first movies you guys watched together?
No,
No.
thank God.
No.
I would have stopped dating Trey at that very
it was,
second.
It was the worst movie we ever watched together. But
Yeah.
what was the other one? What was the one that you picked that we watched?
Oh shoot, what was the name of it? Something about a bird. What was the name of it?
Something about a bird.
I can't remember what it was called.
Do you remember who was in it?
I can't even remember what it was about. It was terrible.
Was it the one with Sandra Bullock on Netflix?
No, it wasn't Bird Box.
No, that was
Oh,
Bird Box.
yeah.
No, it wasn't that. It was, but we just saw him, the actor that was in that movie, the young kid. We just saw him in another movie recently.
Oh yeah. Okay, so this kid is like.
Oh, is it Lady Bird?
No, he like murders some guy's family or something. The guy murders his dad or something, right?
Yeah, and basically it was just really bad acting. It was the only movie that I've picked that's bad.
Oh, that was a cocky throw out.
But I
can't
also don't
remember.
usually pick movies.
And I've only picked 3.
And I only picked 3. You have a 30% chance of watching bad movies with me.
What was the other thing that we watched that kid was in?
I can't remember. It was recent though, also, and we honestly watch a lot of shows and movies, but I can't remember.
Yeah. With the little information you've given me, I cannot pick it out.
I know. So I don't even think there was any other big actors in that movie besides maybe the wife. Trey will find it.
Yeah,
look at that face he has on right now.
Yeah, he's ready.
Yeah, he's gonna find it. He's the finder of all things.
I can tell you one of the worst movies I ever saw was, and it's a really well done movie. It's just so disturbing.
Yeah.
Is Requiem for a Dream.
I've seen that.
Wonderful.
Oh, dude. it's so awful.
Awful?
It's a really well done movie, but it's terrible. It's all about heroin addicts and pill addicts and just bad things happening to people. And the worst part for me was it was when Blockbuster was still around, and I was I was a pretty heavy weed smoker at the time, and I was just walking around Blockbuster trying to find something that was funny. And on the cover of the box, it had Marlon Wayans with a blunt in his mouth, and I'm like,
obviously,
that's gonna be funny.
Yeah.
Marlon Wayans obviously does comedy. He's got a blunt in his mouth. It's gonna be hilarious. No. I quit like everything, like smoking weed, drinking, everything for months after that.
because of that movie.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, so everything leads to you being dead.
Wait, what's it called?
Or Requiem for a Dream.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah.
With Jared Leto?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I've seen this.
Really, really disturbing. Jennifer Connelly's in it well. It's got a great cast, and it's like I said, it's a well done movie. It's not something I recommend watching more than once or twice.
I feel
It's
like I need to
depressing
watch
as
it.
hell.
I've seen it at least 15 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's depressing as hell. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Trey loves that darkness.
I just like Jared
What does that tell
Leto
you about
is
Trey?
just so talented to be like in a band and an actor and just do so many things.
He's insanely talented.
Yeah.
30 Seconds to Mars is one of my kind of guilty pleasure bands. Like,
Same.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't think they're one of the top bands of all time, but when it's on, I'm like, yep, I enjoy this.
Yeah, it just like releases everything.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you just get down and scream for a little while.
Yeah. And then you realize that the person in the car next to you at the red light is watching you, and
Yeah, and then you wave.
you're like, well, nice to meet you.
I'm glad this is your first impression of me.
Yes.
And last.
And then you're best friends.
All right. Well, I want to jump into actually the first thing I'm going to jump into, because you seem like you were pretty interested in talking about it, because you're somebody I've asked advice from on a couple of different things, like how I try to do my social media better, things like that. And it seems like one of the ways you really got into the whole social media aspect was this makeup business you used to do.
Yeah.
And it always struck me as one of those things, like, I don't know if scheme is the right word, but still pyramid,
Yeah.
you know, where you get people underneath you to sell the product, you get a percentage, and there seems
For
to be
sure.
a billion of those out there.
There's a lot now.
But you seem to be interested in talking about your experience with that.
Yeah. And I think that I'm interested in talking about it because it let me know that I was interested in business in general.
Yeah.
I really liked learning how the company worked. I liked learning how to market, and I think that marketing is really what I was interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And it taught me a lot about that. I guess.
How'd you get into it in the first place?
Yeah, I was trying to think of a talking point, like, to start with.
Yeah.
So I think that, I don't know if you want to like dive into the whole thing, like what really like got me into it, because what got me into it was like something like personal.
That's up to you.
Okay,
if you
all
want to spill it, let's go. If not, we'll skip over that part.
Welcome to a different podcast where we're not talking lightheartedly about bourbon and movies. Okay, so I had just had my daughter.
Okay.
And I didn't wear makeup
At all?
At all.
No shit.
Yeah, no.
That's
I
good.
wore like mascara from Walmart, and my mom never really wore makeup, so I like didn't know how to do my makeup at all. And my sister started wearing this foundation, and she was like really into getting me out of this like postpartum funk that I was in, postpartum depression.
So you dealt with some of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was I've always dealt with anxiety pretty bad, but I dealt with the whole postpartum depression thing, and it was awful. And I didn't even know I was in it at the time. So my sister was like, "Hey, like you might feel better if you wear makeup," and I was like, "Bullshit." That's ridiculous.
You want me to paint on my face and that's gonna make me feel better? What am I, a clown?
Yeah. So I was like, whatever, like, you know, make yourself happy, come over. So her best friend came over, and they like showed me this makeup, and we you know, did our makeup, and I actually felt really good. So I was like,
nice.
Okay, like maybe, you know, you look good, you feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's part of exercise, part of eating a healthy diet, all that. Yeah.
Yep. It I understand something way deeper about it now. Like it messes with your reward center in your brain, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So that was 2016, just for reference to anybody listening. But so my sister did my makeup, and I started wearing this makeup. I bought it from my best friend's mom. Actually sold it, and I liked it, and I was like, okay, like I could learn to do my makeup. And if I jump into anything, I'm one of those people that like jump in all the way and like
full speed ahead.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, what is this object? I have to learn everything about it.
Which I'm sure in some ways is a blessing and in some ways a curse.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything that I'm interested in, or anything that just presents itself that's interesting, I just have to like unravel it and understand everything about it.
Yeah.
So I started wearing this makeup, and I was like, oh yeah, I feel really good. So I bought it from my best friend's mom, and she was like, you know, you're like really good at explaining the things that you like. You should just sell this makeup. And I was like, you want the girl that wore
no makeup for however long.
Yeah, to sell makeup. Are you insane?
Right. I'm going to teach people how to put it on. That's what we're doing.
Have you seen a doctor? And she was like, no. They used to call me Gilly. That was my nickname in high school. They used to call me Gilly.
It's funny. I have a friend I call Gilly.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Now you have two friends that you can call Gilly.
It'd be really weird.
Yeah.
He's a big old man.
Oh, well.
You're quite the opposite. You have a lot less facial hair, which I'm sure Trey is happy about.
I hope so. Have you seen this little part of mustache?
I saved this one part right here.
Yeah. That's why I needed to wear the makeup.
I'm going to steal this bowl.
So I, long story short, started selling this makeup because she finally talked me into it. And I started unraveling this thing that I didn't understand, and I really liked learning about it. I liked learning about marketing. And they actually, like the company uses a lot of resources to teach you marketing. So it wasn't just like, here's this thing, you should sell it for us. The company's unique for anybody that didn't know that.
Okay.
And it's YOU instead of UN.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Unique. Yeah.
And the company has a foundation that helps battered and abused women.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Yeah. So like each purchase that you make, you can donate to the Unique Foundation, and these women, they pick women to go to this retreat to like kind of help them recover from abuse, like physical abuse.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So it was more than, they're like, one of their slogans is more than just makeup, but it really was more than just makeup. Like it was a really cool thing that resonated with me. So I started wearing this makeup, and I was like, oh, cool. I can learn how to do makeup and teach people how to do makeup, and I can use Facebook to do it. Like, absolutely. But it was during a time where people started doing it really wrong. Like, people started getting on Facebook and only using it to sell things. And we get this every day, even now. Like, I'm sure.
So what do you mean by that? Like they don't use their Facebook for anything else, just to sell stuff, not to let people know about their life, not to spread positivity. Is that basically what you're getting at?
Yeah. So Unique taught us how to do that. They taught us that if you take your life and share it with people, and then also incorporate just the things that you do in your everyday life into the makeup business, that it's like, hey, like, I'm an everyday person. I didn't know how to do makeup, and here I am, like,
now showing you how to do makeup.
Making money on selling makeup. So I think that there's a right way to do marketing and a really wrong way to do marketing, and they showed you that.
Well, that's good. But so then what made you fall out of it?
So I still 100% stand behind the company. I think I think the
Well,
company's
good.
great. I still wear the makeup. It's what's on my face right now.
Right.
And I still have friends on my team that still sell the makeup. I don't work with them. I don't. So when you're in it, we had a team of 300 some people.
Okay.
I had a really big team.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you were probably making decent money doing it.
Yeah. I made good money doing it. And you make your own. I mean, you work from home 100%. I think that.
Which is, I think, the true American dream.
Yeah.
Working for yourself.
Yeah. So like multi-level marketing is like honestly the dream. You get to stay home. You get to do whatever you want with your kids and go to sporting events and all that kind of stuff. And I made it to, they call it orange status.
Okay.
Which is like the top 4% of the company.
Oh, shit. So you were doing well.
Yeah. I was doing really well with it and I loved it. But it took so much of my time.
Oh, okay.
I was working it like a full-time job plus some. And I didn't know how to
slow it down.
Yeah, I didn't. I was full,
because
full
again,
speed
you're full throttle all the time for those things.
100%. Yeah. So
it's either full throttle or all brake.
Yeah.
Like emergency brake, we're done.
And I've found a balance since then. I think that if I still did it now, if I believed that it could be profitable to the way that I wanted it to be profitable, that I could create a balance. But at the time, there was no balance. There was all work all the time. And for someone to make it to Unique has been around. Shoot, I should know this, but Unique had been around for 6 years before I did it. So the market started to be really saturated.
You get a ton of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once it starts to get like that, you kind of want to be in on the ground floor in order to really make money.
Yeah. So if I had started on year 2, I'd have been black status, which is the top of the company. You make over $100,000 a year.
Oh shit.
So
what would you estimate you were making at orange status, if you don't mind?
Probably like 80,000.
Oh shit.
Yeah. But that was only for me.
It's more money than I've ever made in my life.
Yeah. But that was also only, I mean, you had to work really hard to get there. You had to sell a lot of makeup. You had to maintain a really big team.
Isn't the idea, though, eventually, like, your team makes the sales for you, but you just have to keep up with your team?
Well, so Unique is a little bit different than, I don't make money on what they, so like if you were to sell a lipstick, I don't make $5.
You guys see me selling lipstick?
So like a lipstick in Unique is $27.
Okay.
I wouldn't make $7 off of that. It more of went into like if you, me and Trey all sold makeup, and we all had a team underneath of us, the entire, all of that sales, all of the, I'm lost for words right now, but
the total of the sales.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like you sell $10,000, Trey sells $10,000, I sell $10,000. That $30,000 is what makes my orange status.
Okay.
So like
but you're not actually getting shares of what the other people sell.
No. So like not specifically, but that $30,000 I would make like say 5% on. Just generally. This isn't exact numbers.
Right.
Yeah. So we have to work together as a team. I have to sell a certain amount personally.
Yeah.
I have to have you two that sell a certain amount personally. So I have to help you be successful.
Right.
To be successful myself. And that's what I liked about it. I liked helping other people take being a stay-at-home mom and create something from it.
Yeah. And honestly, that is awesome. Helping people become self-sufficient and even own their own business has to be gratifying. I can see that for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you just fell out of it just because it was just too much.
I started to fall more in love with, so I, right before I started Unique, no, it was after, in December of 2016, I started Unique, on Christmas Day, actually. I bought myself my kit that was like $100, and you know that's how you start your business.
$100 isn't bad. Some places want a lot more than that.
$100.
Yeah.
You get like $400 worth of makeup, and you get a website, and like $100.
I spend that on bourbon on a Tuesday.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, like if it comes down to it, I get like $300 free makeup, whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's what I told people. I just shared my story, and
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that if you do it authentically, you can do it well. But
I think anything you do authentically, you will at least
Yes.
be semi-successful at.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I, which leads me to the point of that March I went and got my my teacher training for yoga. So I was doing both of these things simultaneously. I opened my first yoga studio in 2018, and I think that it was February of the year I opened the yoga studio. I opened my yoga studio in April. So February, I hit orange status for the first time.
Where was that one at?
That was right beside Valley Wine Cellar.
Okay.
When Valley Wine Cellar was in that building,
Yeah.
there was two sides.
Because how me and you initially met was I went to a yoga class with
Yes.
my mom over at the jiu-jitsu place.
That was the first place I ever taught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I loved the yoga class, and you've the only yoga instructor I've ever been to, and I've done it a couple of times.
So he can't judge it on very many people. But
Yeah,
the
but
first and only yoga.
yeah, but I loved it, and it got me every time. I want to do it more and more. I always have something going on that I
Yeah.
don't end up being able
Yeah.
to go. But I love yoga. I love the way it makes me feel. But the only bad part about that place is it was jiu-jitsu mats through the
I
whole
know,
place,
it
so
was
it was a
terrible.
little hard to get your balance.
You couldn't get balance. No, on what, like 3-inch mats? They were really thick and
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
using your stabilizing muscles a lot more than you normally
Yes.
would
Yeah.
doing yoga.
So you do yoga on your hardwood and you're a pro, because
Right?
Yeah.
It makes it a little bit easier.
yeah,
yeah.
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 So I was trying to grow two businesses at one time.
Okay.
I was growing this giant. I was putting a lot of time and effort into helping my team and doing sales and all this like online networking. And you have to be on all the time for that.
Yeah.
When people are watching your life 24/7,
Right.
you have to be
Yeah.
on all the time.
Yeah, I remember just seeing a whole bunch of
Yeah.
videos all the time.
And that's what it took. I mean, you had to be vulnerable and open and relatable, and I was trying to be all of those things and then also grow the yoga business, and yoga is very much I mean, makeup is superficial,
Yeah.
and then yoga is
Like breaking you
transcendent.
down.
And
Yeah.
and so they were very opposite things. I was having a hard time relating them, and
And with how much time you were probably doing the makeup stuff, it was hard for you to promote the
Yeah.
yoga as much as you probably would have liked to.
And I kind of like tied them together, and then I see videos now that I did at that time, and I was like, oh my God, what is this fool doing on the camera? Like, who is this girl?
Were you doing like a yoga pose while doing your eyeliner?
It was,
I would love to see that.
I did a lot of things that I question now. Yeah. There was a lot of bourbon at that time. Maybe it wasn't bourbon, maybe it was tequila, but
But it was something.
every day.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the day. Yeah.
Get you loosened up.
Yeah. I was the unhealthiest yoga teacher you maybe had ever had. But
But you were in good shape.
yeah, I was in great shape
Yeah.
because I just never stopped moving.
That actually kind of leads into something. I do want to get more into yoga, but that kind of leads me into something that I want to talk about with you too, because my sister lives a sober life.
Yeah.
And I'd known you for quite a while. I'd known Trey for quite a while, and then all of a sudden you guys were like, "Oh, we're doing the sober thing."
Yeah.
And you guys did it for quite a while.
He did it for longer than I did.
Yeah.
I actually had never well, I can't say that. I had considered being sober for probably like a year. Like I knew I needed it, maybe even longer than a year.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I needed it. I just didn't know how to just shut it off.
It's a tough situation, especially with a lot of the people you hang out with. Part of what it is you
Oh.
share drinks with them.
Yeah,
whatever.
the culture was just saturated. I mean, I worked at Valley Wine Cellar, so
Yeah.
you drink wine for. I mean, work. You taste
Yeah, you got to
wine with
taste
people
wine
and-
so
yeah,
that you can
serve
sell
wine.
it. Yeah, yeah. But what I want to get into is the benefits of that, because there's been times where I've gone a month or something like that,
Yeah.
and you do feel a lot of benefits. So I kind of wanted to see first. I want to get into what made you decide to finally do it.
So having a community of people that were supportive of not doing it
Yeah,
was what made me like, okay, I can do this. Like I can stop now.
yeah.
And that's all it took. It really just took a community of people saying like, hey, like we're all sober.
And you just felt like you were getting to the point where you were drinking too much, things like that.
It wasn't really like too much. It really was just how I felt when I did drink. I was just overwhelmed. I didn't know how to deal with my emotions.
Yeah.
And it was like drinking was just the
mask.
The mask. The way to shut it all off.
Yeah.
And I knew that was unhealthy.
So you were using it as an escape more than to
100%.
Have fun and be social and just
Yes.
enjoy yourself. You were using it to shut off anxiety, depression, and whatever.
I was self-medicating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is not good.
No.
Yeah.
And back in like college, I had seen a doctor. They prescribed me medicine for anxiety. I didn't like it. It made me feel like a cold,
That's how I felt.
numb human.
Yeah.
And I had a really bad experience with that. So just alcohol was the only legal substance.
Yeah, that you could prescribe yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that was just everyday life. And that's our culture.
Oh yeah.
Alcohol is everyday life. And if you don't have,
Well, pills are everyday life now too, as well.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. I felt the same way. For those that don't know, I suffered an anxiety attack when I was in the Air Force, like a full-blown driving down the road, which made it even scarier for
wow.
me. Because you lose all control of emotion when you have a full-blown anxiety attack.
Yeah.
You're crying. You don't know why you're crying. You're freaking out. You don't really even know why you're freaking out. And you can't even get to the heart of it because all these emotions are hitting you at once. So I had to pull off the side of the road. I somehow managed to call one sergeant, and he was like, "Well, where are you?" I'm like, "I don't fucking know."
It's really interesting to hear someone else describe an anxiety attack, though.
Yeah, do you feel the same way? Because I felt like I was just completely overwhelmed with emotion.
Yeah. But I have felt that way my whole life. Like that is my daily life.
Yeah.
I'm just an emotional being.
And I think at the time I was drinking heavily back then.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a drink every day, but I drink a good bit. But I get drunk maybe once, tops twice a week.
Yeah.
But back then I was drinking in excess all the time. And I think that's what I was doing, is I was self-medicating, and it took the anxiety attack for me to kind of take a deeper look.
Yeah.
And at first, that deeper look, they just gave me a bunch of medicine. They had me on Prozac, they had me on Xanax and Klonopins, and I was like a zombie.
Yeah.
Eventually, I stopped taking them, even though they kept trying to tell me, "Well, no, you need this." And I was like, I can't. I have to figure out how to deal with it. And it wasn't a psychiatrist who helped me. It was actually just a counselor. And he taught me how to deal with my anxiety a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Just, you start to feel anxiety, sit down with your thoughts, try to figure out what the base of it is, and deal with it.
Yeah.
And that was the best thing for me. And it took me going through some group sessions and things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's the culture with anxiety is, our medical world looks at it and they're like, okay, what can we do to paint this a better color?
Yeah, well, basically, it seems like they want to go, instead of looking at whether you exercise, whether you diet, or whether you diet, but whether you have a healthy diet.
Yeah.
And all these things that can be changed in your life to improve that, they just want to figure out how they can chemically change the chemical makeup of your brain.
Rather than how can we understand this?
Yeah. And I think some people do need the prescription drugs, but I think it should always be the last resort.
Same.
And I don't think that happens enough.
Yeah. I honestly think that even now, like, I think that the space that I'm in, I realize that there is an imbalance.
Yeah.
Just naturally between my neural pathways and just all of the ways that works.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's the first question when we go into any kind of, you go see your doctor as a, hey, like, I'm having this issue.
Yeah.
How can you help me? They're like, oh yeah, we can just slap this on it. Like, they're saying, like, here, eat this chocolate and you'll be fine.
Right. It's like a Band-Aid.
Yeah. It's like a
gonna
Band-Aid.
come off.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not dealing with what is causing the problem in the first place.
No.
And some people, it really is just a straight up chemical imbalance. But for some people, you can change that just with changing your lifestyle and improving things, whether it be your health or whatever. Even your diet and your gut biome is so important for, they've found that your gut biome is so important for how you feel mentally.
And it's insane.
And when
the
you
way
just put
that
trash
relates.
in there, you feel like trash.
Yeah. I have a really fun, like, analogy about trash too. Like, the way we deal with, like, emotions and how all of that shows up for us. I relate it in, like, the way that, so, something upsets you. You have, like, an anxiety attack, and you can either, or even if it's not an anxiety attack, maybe if it's just like a flood of emotions, and you can either suppress it, you can react, or you can what was the other one? You can suppress it. You can react. You can
suppressive, react, proact. I'm trying to think. Ignore, which would be suppress. I don't know.
Or you can like act out on it. Anyway, but the garbage thing was what brought it up.
Yeah.
You know, you collect all this this garbage, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna take out the trash. This garbage is just gonna collect, and that's you suppressing it, right?
Yeah.
Or you can react. You know, so you have this. I like to relate everything in like metaphors.
That's fine.
So you have this landscaping, and you have this like really annoying vine or tree that keeps growing in your landscaping, and you're like, this fucking tree, this won't go away. I can't
get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, people are thinking about this in the way of emotions. You have this fucking tree that keeps like showing up, and you're like, what the fuck do I do with this tree? So you just keep burning it down, but you keep burning it down and you're not getting to the root of it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like,
so it keeps growing.
Prescription drugs. Like prescription drugs just keep burning down this tree.
Right.
But the root is always still there.
Yeah.
So it keeps showing up. You keep taking more drugs. And then that's how people wind up with.
Yeah. Because you're not actually dealing with it.
Yeah.
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 That's a great metaphor. I like that a lot. Getting to the root of it.
That's how things show up in my head. That's just how my brain works.
Well, and that's really what it is. If you're not getting to the root of the problem, then you're not fixing it.
Yeah.
But so we were talking about the sobriety time.
Mm-hmm.
So did you, once you got sober, I would imagine you started thinking more clearly. I always feel like I can deal with things so much better when I do that sober month, or when I do that. I just feel like my mind is clear. It's not as foggy. It's not as hazy. And all of a sudden I'm like, all that stuff I thought I didn't have time for, I have plenty of time for.
So much time for.
Yeah.
So just to like paint a picture for everybody listening, sorry, Mom. My mother specifically let me drink really early. Okay. So I've had experiences with alcohol since I was probably like 14. Mm-hmm. And that was
not me.
That was always that's like everybody, right? That's everybody's experience. That's a lot of people's experience.
Yeah, for sure, especially in this area.
But if you're in an environment that's like safe and healthy, it's not a bad thing. Yeah. If you're in an environment that's kind of questionable, sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
Me and my mom have a great relationship now. Up until like 2 years ago, we really didn't have a relationship. But just a background of like drinking was how you deal with things. Yeah. So me entering into sobriety was like a terrified, scared, vulnerable baby.
Yeah, I was gonna say you felt like an unprepared child.
It was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. At first, it was awful, and it was like I didn't have that like security blanket of or that mask. I didn't have that mask of like, oh, I could just have a couple drinks and be totally fine.
And not deal with this shit that's going on that's bothering me.
Yeah. So it was all that suppression. Like my anxiety shows up in the way of suppression. Like I encounter something that bothers me, I suppress it. I don't ever deal with things as they come up. So sobriety taught me how to notice something that bothered me, ask myself why it bothers me, and then just deal with it so that it doesn't have to be a problem for anybody around me. Right. Previous to that, something would show up that bothered me, and I'd take it out on everyone that was around me. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I've
got
always
a little bitchy.
Had terrible relationships. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I don't even think bitchy is the word.
Do you not think it's strong enough of a word, or do you think it's
not? No, it's not nearly strong enough. No. And that just, I mean, that comes from a lot of different trauma. Like, yeah. Yeah.
But that's awesome that it did help you basically get to the root, like you were saying. I didn't do it with sobriety, but that counselor helped me do that. It seems like we took two different routes to get to the same place.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's something different for everybody.
Yeah. And then how long were you sober for?
Almost 8 months.
Almost 8 months. So pretty close to a year.
Yeah.
Not too far off.
Yeah.
And then what made you decide to, jump back on the wagon?
I went to Turks and Caicos.
You went to what?
Turks and Caicos.
What is that?
Yeah, right? No.
What the fuck?
So Trey invited me to Turks and Caicos, and I was like, come again? Do we have to take a spaceship to get there?
Yeah. I'm not sure I feel safe with this.
Yeah. So it's just an island down by like Punta Cana. It's, but...
So a resort type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were with a bunch of friends, and I kind of had this analysis in my head of like, have I dealt with all the demons that needed to be dealt with in my life?
Do I feel safe?
Yeah. Do I feel safe
Drinking again?
Yeah, drinking again. And
Yeah.
I came to the conclusion. We were there for like 2 days before I had chosen to drink again, and I was like, no, I do feel safe. Like, I feel like I've dealt with what I needed to deal with, and let's see how this goes. And if I need to be sober again, I'll be sober again.
Yeah, and I think finding a healthy relationship with anything is the best way to go.
Oh, absolutely.
I know there are people out there that cannot have another drink. I do understand that, but I think if you can find the balance in your life so that you can have a healthy relationship with alcohol, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this and not piss people off, but I think that makes you more complete, I guess, because you've dealt with your demons, you've dealt with the things, and now you can have a safe, healthy relationship with alcohol or whatever.
I think that just comes down to the awareness, and I think that some people find sobriety, and that's what works for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I think that.
And I admire those people because sobriety, even when I do it for a month, is tough for me. It's a very conscious decision every day.
And that doesn't mean that 3 years from now you might meet sobriety and say, hey, like, this feels good. I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah, well, it does feel good. I can't deny that. It's why I do like to take random month breaks, because I just feel better for the time being. And I like to make sure that I keep a healthy relationship with alcohol, because I do know that I can have a very unhealthy relationship with alcohol as well. I've been there and I've done it.
Yeah.
Where I drank every day for probably a year and to access, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I've sadly, it's like a source. This is like a source of pride for me and a source of what the fuck is wrong with you. I've had 3 24-hour drinking binges in my life, and at the time they were a lot of fun. And it was like a spectacle, Other people were very much involved. Yeah, I don't know if anybody ever took any video, but that's the part of me that I know I have to stay away from is the guy that will do that, because that's a problem.
I think that even being aware of that, though, is what makes it a complete process. Yeah,
self-awareness is a very big thing for me. It's one of the reasons I want to try hallucinogens again now that I'm older.
Yeah,
I keep getting away from it every time I have the opportunity, because I do get nervous about it. But I want to use it now as medicine, as like tear down my ego, look at myself very introspectively, and deal with some of the things that maybe I don't even realize I have to deal with until something opens up my mind.
Yeah.
And, in some ways that's a scary place to go. So I tend to, every time I get the opportunity, shy away from it. But I think it's something that I really need to do. But I think I want to go do like a guided thing.
Yeah, I definitely think that I'm going to, I can't judge this because I'm not inside your brain. But for me, I think that I'm in a really good place to almost guide myself through stuff like that. And people say that and then they get into it and they're like, oh my gosh, I really can't do this myself. But just with all the awareness that I have around the meditation community and meditating, not daily, but meditating quite frequently, I think that with hallucinogens, using it as medicine, I think that it's a healing aspect that it's not nearly utilized enough. I'm very excited to see everything that happens in Colorado since they legalized psilocybin. I really want to see what happens there. And it's amazing to me how many of the world's elite actually are all about hallucinogens. They're like, once or twice a year, give myself a reset. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. And again, it's a natural thing. I'm very intrigued by it. I'm very intrigued what can happen with hallucinogens in general, even with addiction. Man, the name of the root is escaping me, but they found this natural root, ibogaine. And it has extreme hallucinogenic properties. Like, even people that do like the trip on a semi-regular basis say you don't want to do that trip. Like, it's really gonna rip you apart. But it's shown a lot of success with people with addiction. I actually know at least one person who got clean from heroin with ibogaine and had tried multiple things before that and nothing worked. And basically what they say it does is it gives your neural pathways a reset for like 30 to 60 days of where you don't have the addiction where you want it. And then in that 30 to 60 days, it's up to you to change your life and figure out how to deal with things.
If you don't and you're not ready, then you're probably going to go back to being an addict.
Yeah.
But it has something like triple the amount of success rate that like methadone and what's the one that most people use today? Suboxone. It has like a way higher success rate than those.
Yeah.
But it's illegal in the U.S., so you have to go to Mexico or Canada.
Yeah. I just recently looked at this chart for how hallucinogens like rewire your neural pathways, and if you think about it as like a circle, it showed all of the different firing points for the way that your neural pathways normally fire. Mm-hmm. And when you're on a hallucinogen, it fires all of them.
Oh, really?
And so, you know, when you come back out of it, it's almost like your brain's more aware, like, oh, hey, we have these other routes of functioning.
Right.
What if we use them?
Right.
So you come back out of something like that, and chemically your brain does something different than what it did previously.
And it's just insane to think about what you can possibly unlock with your mind too, because I mean, most humans only use like 10% of their brain.
Right.
So there's all this that we're not using.
Yeah.
And I feel like the way to figure out how to use more of that is with hallucinogens, or Elon Musk Neuralink. I'm sure is gonna make things open wide up. Do you know the whole? So he's got this Neuralink company.
Yeah.
And on the most recent Joe Rogan podcast, Joe Rogan asked him like, so how far away do you think you're from, you know, putting the first one in a human?
I didn't get to listen to that one yet.
He said if everything goes completely right, 5 years.
Wow.
He said if everything goes completely wrong, 10 years.
But still, 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know the only reason he's even doing this is he's terrified of AI, and he thinks it's the only way we can compete if AI becomes something heinous.
Didn't he say like by the end of the year he was going to release something that was just like going to blow everybody's mind?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's Neuralink. I mean, the dude literally quit college to become a rocket scientist.
He said so much, because that thing was like 4.5 hours long.
Yeah,
and it was
both of his podcasts on the Joe Rogan Experience are two of my favorite podcasts, because he is such an intriguing person. And in the first one, you can almost tell like how much his mind hurt him. Like it was painful to have that kind of mind. I mean, who can quit college to go become a rocket scientist? And because he's actually involved in like what they do to send rockets into space. He's involved in what they do to make Teslas.
Yeah.
And to do Neuralink. And he was even breaking it down by what percentage of his brain he uses. And he's like, oh, a boring company, which I find hilarious, even though you are boring into the earth. I feel like he calls it boring company because it's the most boring project he does to him.
Probably is to him.
Yeah, to him.
Yeah.
He's like, I use, maybe 1-2% on boring company. He was like, the Neuralink, I use maybe 5%, and the rest goes to Tesla and SpaceX, which SpaceX is now pretty much hand in hand with NASA. This guy quit college to become basically a NASA rocket scientist.
No big deal.
And then he just like out of
I'm going to
nowhere,
let you and Trey talk about this for a second.
Go ahead.
I'm going to release a flamethrower on the internet.
Yeah. Well, and did you hear why he did that too?
He's like, I want to build a flamethrower.
Well, and he needed just a little bit. Like I went back and rewatched the episode where he was talking about it on Joe Rogan, and he wanted a couple million extra funds. He was like, well, how do I get this couple million of extra funding? He's like, well, I build this many flamethrowers and I sell it for this price. I'm sorry, not a flamethrower. I build this many, not a flamethrower.
Not a flamethrower.
That's
company.
Actual name.
Yeah. I think, what were they, like 500? I think he sold 5,000 of them or 10,000 of them.
Yeah, something absurd. Never going to do it again. He just used it as a quick fundraiser for one of his crazy ideas.
I really, really enjoyed what he was saying about like the odds that we're actually in a simulator.
I kind of fell out a little bit at that point.
So basically what he was saying was that, like, okay, so 40 years ago, early 80s, late 70s, we had Pong. We had Atari.
Yeah.
Think about the graphics on that and, like, the quality of that video game. Think about where we're at now with Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto and all those games. Okay, it's 40 years.
Yeah, technology keeps
a
growing.
Dot and 2 lines.
Yeah.
To what we have now.
And it keeps growing exponentially pretty much with everything in technology, cameras, everything.
Yeah, 100%. So he said basically, like, even if we only, increase at like 1,000th of what we did over the past 40 years, in 5 or 10,000 years, we're going to have something that's indistinguishable from reality as a video game. And he said the odds that already hasn't happened are...
Yeah. Yeah,
you know?
I guess I can get that. To me, what I think we would have some kind of self-awareness of it unless AI took over, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we would have self-awareness of it because when it first happens, it's literally going to be more like that Ready Player One,
Yeah.
where you put on your shit and you go into that world and you can be whatever the fuck you want to be.
Yeah.
I think that's how it will initially start if it's a simulation type thing, and then I think we'd have a little awareness of it because no matter what, we'd have to put our bodies into something.
I think you would, but even like give people something like that right now, okay, where they can go into a computer and live life whatever they want to live life. You think they're gonna come back out?
Yeah, well,
Who's gonna come back out?
Well, I think like a Ready Player One, the only way to maintain it, because you have to pay for shit, is you have to come back out until they make it so like Bitcoin. Actually, that's where Bitcoin would come in. You could live in that world and keep paying for it with cryptocurrency, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
So in Ready Player One, you could earn coins by taking other people. You could take out other people's. There was different planets in Ready Player One, and some of them you couldn't kill people on, and some of them you could.
right.
And then there was in-game money, and you could get money that way. So,
But still, everybody in there also lived outside of that world.
The world, yeah, but they spent most of their time on.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which is a really intriguing movie. Everybody should check that out. I
Did you
really
read the
enjoyed
book,
that.
or you just watched the movie?
I just watched the movie.
The book.
I got so many books I have to read.
The
I have
book is so
many.
good, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's it gets into a lot more detail and a lot more like pop culture references, and
Yeah.
it's a lot deeper. I mean, the movie's just as good. You could watch the movie and you probably get just as much out of it. But the book was really. He has another book too called Armada that was really really good.
Yeah, the books always are better. It's just I have so many books I have to read between. I hate to call them self-help books. I just like to get an idea of how other people's minds work, especially when they're, for lack of a better term, even though they're doing really good, crazy people like David Goggins. Like,
Same.
I love David Goggins, but he's a crazy person.
I could read that stuff all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And stuff like Tribe, and then stuff that's just stories that I still have to read. Like I recently bought a bunch of Stephen King books. But that guy, he's kind of hard to read sometimes because he uses words that you don't know what they are.
Yeah, and then you have to look them up. And then
And then you find out
in
it's
a
just
rabbit hole of.
and then you find out it's just a satchel.
Yeah.
Like, well, why didn't you just say like satchel?
Because he can't.
Why'd you use this crazy fucking word that I had to look up?
King. To make you look it up.
Yeah, I mean, he's an amazing writer. I love most of the things that not most of the things, everything I've gotten through of his, I've really enjoyed. But so to add another,
I haven't gotten through a single one.
Really?
Nope.
No shit. Hearts of Atlantis. It was a movie. Yeah, it was a movie, but it was also in a book of short stories.
Okay.
That was probably the easiest one to read. I highly recommend checking
I'll
that
do
one
that
out.
first. Yeah.
I'm sure you could just look up Stephen King's short stories book.
Mm-hmm.
But the last book I really read, and I read pretty quickly, I recommended to you, and it was called Tribe. Yeah, and you read it as well, right?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I really loved that book. Very short.
I can't say I read it. I listened to it on audio.
Yeah, but I mean, how many people do that now? So it's pretty much like reading it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I really loved that one. I loved how it spoke to the positive effects of a tribe and living in your small communities, which we don't do at all anymore.
No.
Like, I barely know my neighbors.
Yeah.
And the effects that those smaller communities have on PTSD and things like that.
Yes.
And
I liked how it spoke to roles in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
How it's so difficult because it spoke to the way that women had a role, men had a role.
Yeah.
And that's just the way things were. And then it's really hard to say that now because women are allowed about empowerment and we can do the same thing men can do. And I believe that too. I believe
Correct.
that women were always capable of doing the same things that men can do. But I think that if we lived in a space where we knew our roles and we knew how we could contribute to a community.
Yeah. That doesn't mean a woman's role is always going to be the same. It means that this woman has this role.
Yes.
This woman woman might be the leader of the community.
Yeah.
But just understanding your role and your personality type and where you fit in.
Exactly. It was more about understanding.
Yeah. And I like how when he was talking about actual tribes like American Indians, he broke it down to like during times of peace, like the shamans or whatever would be in complete control. Mm-hmm. And then in times of war, the warriors would be in complete control.
Yeah,
and
how there was a balance.
Yeah, and every time the war was over, the warriors never fought to keep control. They gave it immediately back over to the shamans.
Right.
You know, for lack of a better term, shamans, I'm sure that's not what they were called, but medicine
but
men, whatever.
Technically, it's what a shaman is.
Yeah.
And yeah, in that culture, I think that shaman is the right reference.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really loved those aspects. I love the aspect of, because I've said multiple times, especially after reading that book, I really went into it hard a few times, that Americans, we don't really understand the pain of war, and I
No.
think it's why we have so much PTSD in our country compared to others. Like, if you look at the stats, we have a much higher percentage, but it's because we don't fight wars on our own soil.
No.
Those other countries, they fight wars on their soil. So when those soldiers go back to their communities felt that war impact as well.
Yes.
Their towns and cities got destroyed.
A much more receptive.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
us, since we don't fight wars here
No.
on our soil, when those soldiers come back, we don't know how to deal with it or relate.
Absolutely.
So that's what creates them feeling like they're on the outside
Yeah.
and getting that PTSD. I really enjoyed that book.
I did too. Yeah, I was glad that you recommended it to me because I started listening to it and I was like, oh yeah, this is so relatable. I mean, this should be something that's very relatable to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think everybody should definitely give that book a read.
Yeah. Tribe. Who wrote that? I don't remember.
He was actually, I want to say he was a Navy SEAL. His name, it's kind of a crazy name. I had that book sitting out somewhere. I don't remember where it is now.
I would like to actually if you have that book laying around, I'd like to reread it in physical form.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll make sure we remember to give it to you before
Absolutely,
you leave.
yeah.
Sebastian
Yeah,
Junger.
that's
Yeah.
it.
He's been on the Joe Rogan podcast a few times.
Yeah.
That's how I found out about the
That's
book.
how, yeah, after I read that book, I looked him up and I listened to that podcast that he was on and yeah.
A lot of people, they try to, I'll have some people tell me when they like the Joe Rogan podcast, but they pick and choose what
Right.
guests they listen to.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Which
you're crazy,
content.
because those ones that you don't know who they are
Yeah.
tend to be the best ones. Like, that's how I first found out about Jordan Peterson, who I think is very misunderstood. And I love Jordan Peterson.
Have you read Jordan Peterson?
I have it right there. I've gotten to, I think, Rule 2, and I haven't finished it yet.
Listen, that book, you could digest a paragraph for days and not understand it.
I completely agree.
There's the 12 rules for life, and then what was the other one?
That's the one that I've started on, and I think I'm in Rule 2. But what happens is I read a little bit of each book and then go somewhere else, and then I go back to it. And I need to just sit down and read. But now with everything I do, one, I've been working 2 jobs and trying to do the podcast and trying to get better with the social media now that I finally got a phone that I can do selfies with. And now figuring out the video and the video editing, it gets hard. But I need to really sit down and start reading again.
12,
I do.
I can't remember the other book.
Maps of Meaning.
Maps of Meaning. That is the one that you should listen to.
Oh, yeah? Well,
$65.
dude, it's crazy.
paperback.
For a paperback, it's $63. Holy shit.
You can download it on Audible for $0, as you can see, which is what I have done.
Yeah.
Maps of Meaning, I think I could listen to this for, 10 times over and not understand.
That has to be the best book ever. It's an older book.
Yes.
And it's $63 for the paperback.
$60 to buy it on Kindle.
That's
Listen,
fucking insane.
I'm telling you, it makes me understand reality in a different way each time I listen to it.
That was a book where I did start reading the 12 Rules of Life or listening to it on Kindle, and I was like, I'm going to have to read this book if I want to get anything
No,
out of
I
it
have
at
to
all.
take notes on it to understand it. Jordan Peterson's an amazing human being, and him and his daughter actually have a podcast as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And they both do the carnivore diet.
Yeah.
Where they eat nothing but meat.
All the time.
Yeah, and it again, I
Completely
think I think it's just like any medicine. I think certain things work for certain people. I do think recently it is become very clear that having a very high vegetation diet is really good for you.
Trey and I have talked a lot about eating for your blood type as well.
Yeah. But, people react differently to different things. I do think that it somehow has worked miracles for Jordan Peterson and his daughter, but I think for another person it'd be like a heart attack every month.
Oh, 100%.
You know?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I would get really sick.
Yeah. Well, what Joe Rogan actually just did it for a month, and he said he didn't enjoy his bathroom visits, but other than that, he felt way better than on any other diet he's ever been on. And
He
he's
said
thinking
mentally he just functioned on a higher level.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he thinks that there's a good possibility he's going to go back to it. But he's undecided yet.
Yeah, we both did vegan for a long time, and I made it like a little bit over a year of just vegan, and obviously I own a vegan restaurant.
Right.
So, someone's going to be like,
which is eat fresh.
Fresh twist.
Fresh twist.
Yeah.
Eat fresh twist. That's what it is.
So,
yes, sorry.
I shouldn't say that I eat meat, but I do eat a little bit, and I'm concerned of where it comes from. I am, because I think a lot of stuff out there is just,
Yeah, I do think you can make a conscious decision to find good meat sources.
Yeah, even where like chicken in the last 5 years, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but I just don't think it tastes the same.
No, there's something wrong with chicken.
There's something wrong with
it's
chicken.
not the same at all.
When you eat it, sometimes you're like, this does not taste like.
Yeah, and what chicken did you get this giant breast from?
Right. I want to see this monstrous
what does this
chicken
look like?
Yeah.
Can we look this up? Is that something we can look up?
Oh, you can look up giant chicken. You'll see the scariest chicken you've ever seen in your life.
I don't think I want to see it.
It's crazy. Look at this thing. He walks out of this hole. Look at these things. That's not okay.
No.
That's not okay.
I've never seen this. This is not a real thing.
That's not okay. It's very real. I saw one. Look at that picture down there. That one walks out of a chicken
I'm pretty sure
coop.
I bought this chicken right here in this area at Kroger's.
Right. Look at the size of that leg. Imagine if that was the leg you got in your order of wings. That's like a turkey leg. Like that they have it like those.
I might go strictly vegan again.
What about this guy?
Well, that's not real.
What do you mean? That looks 100% real
You
to me.
guys are going to have to
like
watch
what I'm
the
getting
Gathering
at.
of Fools
Yeah,
video for this feed right now.
There's a drawing.
Yeah, it says, yep, that's one big cock.
And we're off topic.
I'm a firm believer that I think the diet that would probably work best for most people is smaller portions of meat. Like people that are constantly eating like 12-ounce steaks, stop doing that.
Yeah.
Stop it. That's not good for you. And then you're still eating meat 3 other times a day. Like,
Yeah.
I like to get my meat like 4 to 6 ounces, and then I like to have a lot of vegetables.
A lot of vegetables.
A lot of vegetables.
Speaking to that topic, like I've done some kind of gym something for more than half of my life.
I actually have on my list here whether it be yoga, powerlifting, CrossFit.
Yeah. So anybody that doesn't know me doesn't know that I don't do or that I do more than just yoga.
Yeah.
I've experimented with everything that involves the gym. And I always thought, you learn about the gym and then you're like, protein.
Yeah.
You need protein.
Need all the protein.
All the protein. I think you start talking in a deeper voice. Yeah. But I always thought that.
That's where your mustache came from?
Yeah. My brief experiment with
just that little side piece.
just a little side piece. But I always thought that you had to eat like this mass amount of protein to be able to even function in the gym and gain muscle.
Yeah. What you don't realize is you can get a lot of protein from plants and other things like that. Although I will say plant protein does not taste nearly as good as my BSN whey protein.
Yeah.
It's got a weird texture and everything.
I have
to it.
always had a problem with whey protein. It's always upset my stomach. I've
Really?
always had I'm not lactose intolerant, but I've always had like a sensitivity to it. So it's delicious. The BSN makes is BSN who makes synthesis?
Yes, that's my favorite protein.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Cookies and cream is the bomb.
I go with the chocolate peanut butter.
Yeah, that was my second favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Whenever I do get heavily into the gym, I use mostly their products.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a big flavor. Plus, it gets a lot of high ratings.
Yeah.
But when I did protein, when I was in the best shape of my life for a while, I was in really good shape. I still never got the 6-pack because I would literally
bourbon,
alcohol in general. I'd go to the gym, and then at the time there was a bar right next door to the gym.
Of course.
So
what gym did you go to?
Planet Fitness, and Triple Play was right next door.
Triple Play was right next door.
so I would get done at Planet Fitness and then go drink for like 3 hours.
I mean, balance. Yeah. No,
But
I scratch that. That's not healthy.
but I would put a very hard workout in and then go drink for a while.
Would you like to dissect that?
Listen, I'm all about pain and reward for that pain.
My first choice in job was besides paleontologist, was psychotherapist. So we could really dig into that if you want to.
Maybe we'll do a whole podcast.
Maybe we'll do a whole podcast.
Yeah. I'll start crying. It'll be great for everybody.
And then we'll do
there.
yoga.
Yeah, and then we'll do yoga, and I'll feel much better about me. But how I did is I still liked the smaller portions of meat because I just don't like feeling heavy.
Yeah.
So
same.
smaller portions, decent vegetables, and then And then I would only do whey protein after the gym, basically muscle recovery. But you know, a lot of people are taking that protein like 3 times a day.
It's like all they eat.
And
like,
eating meat.
I've talked to females who would just eat like protein shakes and protein bars.
Yeah.
And that's like all they'll eat.
That's crazy.
Because they quote unquote like feel good when they do it because they're not eating any substance. They're just eating whey protein. And then they're like, oh, but I have this terrible cramp and I can't go to the bathroom. And I'm like,
that's not good.
That's not good. Okay. That's not healthy.
You just said it because you feel good when you do that. That sounds like you're feeling terrible.
Yeah, that actually sounds like it's not working.
Sounds a little bit like torture.
Yeah. Sounds like you have a problem with the way that your reward center works.
Yeah, maybe you should drink more.
Flush it all out. It'll just be like liquid. But I like plant-based. I loved the way I felt because you digest plants faster than you digest protein.
Yes.
Like in meat form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I don't get enough vegetables in a day, I very much notice how much worse I feel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just the vitamins.
And I used to hate vegetables like with a passion. Now I found ways I can cook them that I really enjoy them. You know, add some fat to them. Use some avocado oil or olive oil.
Oh my gosh. Do you like avocados like in general?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yes.
So there's people that hate avocados.
It's so crazy to me. I don't understand it.
No, but I could just scoop it out with a spoon and just eat those.
I'll literally sometimes for my meals, I'll just cut it into like little slices.
Yes.
Put a little salt, little pepper, little garlic powder.
It almost feels like
a
reward to me to eat like you scoop out half an avocado on like Brussels sprouts and like, so good.
But the only problem I have with avocados is you just have a small window of when they're good.
I know.
You know what I mean? You bring them home from the store, and if you don't eat them in 2 days,
rock solid brown.
Right? It's like, son of a bitch, I missed the window.
If you don't find that 32-minute window.
Yeah. And it's so frustrating.
Yes.
And then you buy avocados, and all of a sudden you realize, like, oh man, I'm not gonna be able to like make myself some food for like the next 3 days because of my schedule.
Yes.
These are gonna be bad.
Yeah, you're like trying to give them to people, like, please eat these right now.
I don't want to waste these.
And then they look at you like you're crazy.
I'm a crazy person when it comes to that. I'll be like, you know what? I'm gonna fill my house with just fruit and vegetables, and I'll buy so much fruit and vegetables that no single person is going to eat in the amount of time that it would take.
But it just makes you feel good.
Right. But you'll never be able to eat them as a single person in the amount of time that you have to before they all go bad.
Yep.
Like I'll have like this fruit bowl that's like this big and it's overrunning with fruit.
He's referencing a giant globe-sized bowl of fresh fruit.
and it'll be overflowing and like at least half of it goes bad.
Yes. Yeah. And then you're like, I'm a terrible person. I'm wasting all this food.
Yes, absolutely. I'm like, I wonder if this is still edible for my dogs. Maybe I'll give it to them. But not grapes.
But if you were to invite all your friends over for a feast because you didn't want to waste all that food, they'd be like, what's this?
Yeah.
You're feeding me this health food.
You invited me over for dragon fruit?
Yeah, for dragon fruit.
Fuck is the matter with you?
Kumquats, really?
Yeah. Can we just throw some steaks on the fucking grill,
Where's
dick?
the bacon?
Well, listen, if we cook this one thing with bacon grease, it'll have a great... No, I just want the bacon, man.
Vegan. What do you not understand?
Vegan. Oh, man. I always give my brother-in-law a hard time because my brother-in-law and my sister are obviously vegan. Mm-hmm. And they decided to go vegan right after the best Thanksgiving I have ever had.
I think I've heard this. Haven't you talked about this on a podcast before?
I might have, but I'm bringing it up again because it's just so upsetting. I love that they're vegan. It's doing great for them. That's awesome. No qualms. What I'm upset about is we had the one Thanksgiving where we literally had this crazy cut of beef cooked perfectly. We had crab. We had duck.
I can see your mouth.
We had turkey. I'm drooling a little bit right now. Luckily, I have a beard, so it just seeps right into the beard. And we had all this amazing meat. And Brad was like, we're doing it like this from now on, brother.
You were set.
I was pumped. The next year, vegan. We didn't even get 2 years. Brad, you could have given me 2 years, Brad. You could have given me 2 years before you decided to do what's healthier for you and the environment. Whatever.
Speaking on Brad and Hannah, though, like not to switch topics back to what we talked about before, I met Brad and Hannah because of Trey. And I completely separate from Trey. I probably would have been friends with Hannah regardless. Somehow we would have met. My sister also knew her.
Oh, really?
But on the sobriety topic, I had she asked me to come over and take photos for her.
Okay.
And we ended up talking about sobriety and what it meant to her.
Yeah.
And she was probably part of the reason that I decided to be sober.
I can see that.
Probably even a larger part than Trey. Trey introduced me to it, but Hannah talked about sobriety in a way that resonated with me. Mm-hmm. A lot of the things that she brought up, I was like, oh, my brain works that same way.
Yeah.
And,
because she was a partier. She was one of my drinking buddies.
Yeah.
Like, we had a lot of fun together. And we still do. Just because she's sober now doesn't mean we don't have fun together.
Yeah.
Me and her still have the most amazing time, which, if you've listened to our podcast, I'm sure you could tell because we
great.
laughed a lot.
You and Hannah's podcast is one of my favorite podcasts.
Yeah, me
I don't
too.
talk to her nearly as much now, but Hannah, I still love you. Small shout out. I think that it's just weird how, like, I met you separately, then I met Hannah, and I met Trey separately than them, and it's just weird how, like, same love all the way around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I hit it off with you initially just because of that full throttle thing that you have.
Yeah.
Because when you want to do something, you have a passion about it. I always say, one, Nick Hotchkiss definitely helped push me into podcasting, but you were also somebody. I had a conversation with you at the wine cellar one day.
I remember that day.
Like, Nick had been busting my balls about it for months, but the one day we had a conversation at the wine cellar about it, and you kept pushing, like, you just need to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like you have passion for it and you just need to do it. And honestly, I think what was holding me back was the fear of failure of it. And then what made me finally do it was, I'm going to be happy whether 2 people download it, no people download it,
Same.
1,000 people download it. I'm just going to be happy doing it.
Yeah.
So, between quite a few people, but you helped push me that particular day as well. It wasn't that long after that I think I finally did it, maybe a month or so, and I'd been talking about it.
I remember that. Yeah. I remember you messaging me and being like, hey, I bought all my stuff.
Like, hey, I bought all this.
I was like, fuck yeah.
I'm like, by the way, how do I hashtag stuff?
I bought it all. By the way, SOS.
By the way, I also have no idea what I'm doing.
I think that there's like this like barrier that people have, like, you associate with a certain kind of person when you're passionate about something, but you're scared of speaking about it. Mm-hmm. And then you encounter people that feel that same passion that you feel, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, like, people actually do something with their passion.
It's normal to want to try to pursue it. It's not. Yes. Even though it might be scary. Yeah. You got to try to strive.
Yeah.
And surrounding myself with other people. I mean, it's why, like, even though me and you, we don't see each other in person that often, that I make sure that, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, I reach out and I talk to you because I feed off of that energy.
Same.
And I have a few people like that now because Joe Rogan said it perfectly. Like, if you surround yourself with I can't catch a break people, which I used to be one, like, oh man, I got in trouble for this and it's bullshit that happened to me. Well, you did put yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
So, but you can't catch a break people. You can't surround yourself with those people.
Yeah. Because
they're not doing anything to improve their situation. They're just complaining about everything that's holding them back.
Yeah. I'm a big energy person. Like, I have gotten myself into so many situations where you find out a person's true energy and then you're like, fuck.
Yeah. Like, damn it.
You gotta go.
Again, they had their mask on for the first, whether it be friendship or an actual, like, love relationship. When you first meet people, you got like a 1 to 6 month mask that might be up.
I think that might have been what got me into masks in the first place. I'm just a loving human being. Like, I love a lot. And so it got me into a lot of trouble because I would meet these people and I'd be like, oh my God, like, you're so interesting. Like, and they had this mask on. Like, you fall in love with
You're
this.
like, hello, I just met you. I love you. Hello, I just met you. I love you. I love lamp.
Are you quoting a recording of me?
No. I just understand that. I used to be the exact same way. Everybody I met, I was just like, you're the best person I've ever met.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And I'm like a dog, like with their tail wagging, like, oh my God, I love you. Yeah. And then that person would reveal their true person. And I'm like, fuck, you're fucked. I hate you. And I just people let down their guard and they show their true energy, and you're like, no, I can't jive with this.
Yeah. And I think part of their actual problem is the fact that they live in that mask, and they need to take it off. Then they might be able to figure out the type of person they want to be.
Yeah, that's also a different podcast.
Man, we're way too deep.
Where are we? How many hours? You told me. See, you told me.
Is there mushrooms in this bourbon?
Surprise.
Surprise.
Trey.
You tricky bastard.
Gotcha.
Actually, I told you it flies by, right? So how long have we been recording for?
We have been recording for 1 hour and 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow. And
Doesn't
I was
seem like that
nervous
long.
about an hour.
Yeah. Doesn't seem that long, does it?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
The
Catches you by
first time I
surprise.
looked over, it was 5 minutes, and I was like, man, this is going to take forever. And then I looked back, and it was an hour. And then you just asked me, and I was like, it's an hour and 35. I've only looked 3 times.
At the beginning, Trey was like, why did I volunteer for this?
It's very hard for me not to talk more, and I'm trying to keep myself.
I'm so proud of you right now. Yeah.
I'm a talker.
So I invited,
for sure.
I invited Trey. Dave said, we don't have a behind the scenes person, and I'm like, oh, Trey's good at everything. Like, he can figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
So I invited Trey to come along, and part of my brain said, Trey likes to be the center of attention.
I will not disagree with
that. That's why he's a musician.
Yes. Yeah. So part of my brain said, this is a bad idea. Dave invited me onto the podcast.
Trey
not
might
Trey.
dominate the conversation.
Trey's going to try to dominate it. And I was like, no. He's got this. And you did a really good job. I'm proud of you.
I know when I'm meant to talk and when I'm not meant to talk. So
He's an intelligent
I can't
person.
wait for you guys to listen to the podcast with him, though, because he actually is very intelligent and has a lot to say.
Yeah, he was supposed to come on a couple of times, and we kept having issues to get him on, but you will be coming on for sure.
I'm very excited to come on now because there's a lot of stuff that you guys have talked about that I would like to have
elaborated on.
Yeah, for sure.
And we can even do one where all 3 of us are together too.
Oh, that would be great.
I think that there's a lot we can share between the 3 of us that's helpful for
other people. Yeah. And I love these type of podcasts where we talk about these things. Don't get me wrong, I love the silliness. I love clowning around.
Yeah.
I love talking about movies. I love drinking bourbon, but I love having kind of deeper conversations. It's one of the things I loved about my podcast with my sister.
Yeah.
That's why it's one of my favorite ones. One of my favorite ones was also talking to his name is escaping me right now, but Brad hooked me up with him, and he works in.
Oh, that's
Is it Eric?
Eric Berkheimer.
Yeah, I love that episode as well because we're talking about some real shit, and I like talking about real stuff.
That was honestly one of my favorite episodes of the podcast.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
He's a really good guy. I don't know him personally, but I know of him a lot, and he's a good guy, and he has a lot of good things to say.
He's excellent. That's the first time me and him ever met.
Really?
Yeah, I'd never even had the most we had talked about to each other before that was through text, and it was basically like, okay, here at this address at this time.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I was nervous about it because I don't know the guy. I am very intrigued by the whole. Intrigued might be the right word, but disturbed maybe by the whole opioid epidemic.
Yeah.
So I was something I definitely always want to talk about because I've had friends who've dealt with it on a large scale, and it ended up going so great. And he was very open. He told stories about when he was they say you're always an addict, but when he was in the depth of his addiction, he told stories.
Active addiction.
Yeah, active addiction. He told stories about it. It was a really good podcast. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I have another one I got to redo with a guy because I wasn't prepared for it. He's the guy who did the Ibogaine treatment. Mm-hmm. And we recorded once, and 1, my dogs were screaming, crying, so that you could hear them the whole time in the background. 2, I didn't do a good job of organizing the conversation because he's got one of those minds that'll just go off on tangents. And I didn't do a good job of maintaining a steady storyline or structure to the conversation.
That was one of the reasons I was nervous to come on. Like, my brain can go in a million directions at any one time.
Oh, yeah.
I told Trey before we came on, I was like, I'm just worried about how my brain audience is going to mix with Dave's brain audience. I don't know how his fools will mix with my
Well, as much as I called it Gathering of Fools, one of the reasons I called it that is because even though I wanted to have serious conversations, I also want everybody to understand that most people that come on here are not going to, probably none are going to be doctors.
Yeah,
we're not going to be scientists. We're going to have our life experience, and then we're going to talk about it, and We talk about the things we read. So even when we have serious conversations, in some ways, we're still fools because we're not professionals in those aspects. You know
think
what
that
I mean?
speaks on another topic. Like people, I just listened to this talk the other day that talked about this woman who had written a book, and she said, you know, even though I've written a book, you know, people think authors have all their shit together.
Yeah.
And we're just like fools, like everybody else. Like we don't have anything together, and we're writing this book so that we can make you feel like, hey, you can do these things too.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to give it some serious name, like, 'cause these are the conversations I love to have. I want to have the fun ones, but I also want to have ones like we've had a lot of fun and we've had a lot of laughs.
Yeah.
We dove deep into some things about psyche, things like that.
Yeah.
I want to have those conversations, but I don't want people to. I don't want people to think this is a doctor's conversation. It's two friends having a conversation about things that they think about. You know, so
I think that inviting people to feel normal is the goal.
Yeah,
for me,
absolutely. Yeah, feel normal about having these type of conversations.
Yeah.
I actually, I'm thinking about one of the reasons I also want Saturdays and Sundays off is I think I'm going to start doing business trips with my mom.
I like it.
For her business. And since I won't be able to record on those times when I'm on the business trips, I think I'm going to do a podcast with her. It'll just be under Gathering of Fools, but it'll be like a segment of Gathering of Fools. And I haven't figured out a name for it yet.
Travels with Tammy.
But it'll be me and her talking about recent news and her... the aspect at which she looks at things and the aspect of which I look at things. And because me and her are going to have a lot of differences of opinions.
Like different generations.
Yeah, exactly. And
generational fools.
And we're going to have a lot of difference of opinions on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But to have that conversation with somebody that I know I love, she knows she loves me, and no matter how we feel about what we're talking about, and no matter how we feel about what we're going to talk about, we're still going to love each other afterwards. So to kind of put out there that you can have difficult conversations with people and still love them. You don't have to then hate each other because you have a difference of opinion.
That's just a healthy relationship.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a relationship that the United States definitely desperately needs to find, because we're at this point now that if you're not on my side, then I'm going to fucking kill you.
Yeah.
But not actual kill, but
I mean,
like I hate you now.
That's something that is a giant topic of conversation. And it's something that, I mean, I had never known what that felt like.
Yeah.
Until I met Trey, honestly.
Really?
I had never felt safe in a conflicted environment. Like, we can talk about things and disagree about them, but just talk about them.
Right.
And I had never felt that until I met him.
Yeah.
And that's crazy that people don't feel that on a daily basis. People don't know what that feels like.
Right. And even if you are really passionate about something and the other person feels the opposite way, you can still not try to say things to hurt that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I had never experienced that. Fail. They're trying to pass cigarettes back and forth, and they're smokers. We tried to do it very discreetly too, by like hand signaling each other.
We're good, healthy people.
And then it didn't work. I'm not smoking.
And that's what yeah, Amanda is not smoking. And that's what cracks me up about now that I have the video. People are going to be watching this. We're like giving hand signals, trying to be discreet. Like we should just say, "Hey man, hand me the cigarettes."
We're talking about sobriety, but Amanda's over here. I have bourbon and a beer.
But you also haven't finished the ones that you started the episode with. So that's
not
good.
True. I finished the beer that I.
Oh, did you finish the beer?
Yeah,
oh.
and I got a second one.
But still, I would say you have a healthy relationship with alcohol.
100%.
You're not sitting here chugging alcohol. You found a medium.
Yeah, it's a daily. You shouldn't say that though, because I think that honestly, it's a daily awareness of where that medium lies for that day.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
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 Like I said, there's times where I do get drunk and get in. I use it as medicine, honestly. Sometimes to get into a certain mind frame to do a different kind of thinking. I do that quite often with alcohol. Yeah. Like, you know what? I'm gonna go to a different place right now. Yeah. But I'm very aware of that place that I'm trying to get to.
Yeah. Just for the sake of listeners, though, I should say that it's a daily.
Yes.
It's a daily thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could easily go off the rails if you wanted to.
Yeah, and you can choose that.
Yeah.
You could totally choose to be like, fuck this day.
Yeah. I don't recommend doing that for a lot of days in a row.
Nope. Nope.
But I do have days where I'm like, yeah, fuck this day.
I'm choosing tequila today.
It's always bourbon for me these days, but yes.
Yeah.
I might add in some beer here and there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
It feels so good to have a healthy conversation about this though, because I even with my family, I opened up to my dad and told him that, hey, I have a problem with alcohol. And he looked at me like I had lobster eyes. Like he looked at me like I was crazy, like he had no idea. And it feels good to have a healthy conversation in a way that people can listen to and have kind of like insight on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think anytime, and I can see initial reaction being like, oh shit, they just said something profound to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think anytime somebody tells you that there's an issue or they have a problem with something, you need to really try to sit down, understand, and grasp it.
Yeah.
Instead of just using your judgmental eyes. Like even if you think it's a bullshit thing, like you don't know what's going through that person's head. So take a second, take a beat, and figure out whether it's bullshit or whether or not they really have something they need to talk to you about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that my dad's a person that he'll tell, I mean, that's where I get it from, but he'll take something and just unravel it to every aspect, like in every situation. And he does a lot of judgment before he hears the other person's side of the story. So that's what happened. And not that there's anything wrong with that. That just happens in general with people, I think, sometimes. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a natural reaction that you actually have to try to restrain. You know what I mean? You have an initial, especially if it's something you're passionate about, you have an initial, very strong, visceral reaction.
That pops up. Yeah.
And sometimes you need to take a beat and just think about it and be like, let me breathe for a second. Yeah. And now let's have this conversation. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that comes from, this is something way deeper, but generational trauma. I mean, you go through things when you're a child and that just influences the way you react as an adult.
Yeah, well, and I think even you, even though we're not an extreme about apart in age, we are quite a. I'm 37. I'm
27.
27. So we are 10
and it doesn't
years.
feel like that. That's weird.
It doesn't. But we grew up in very different times, and I actually feel in a lot of ways bad for people that grew up in the times of social media because it creates a whole nother aspect to your psyche. I believe.
Yeah.
Causes a lot of people a lot of depression. Causes a lot of people to get themselves in trouble for a quick, passionate thought that they put out there on the internet forever.
Yeah.
And now it's going to get recalled on them 20 years later. You know what I mean?
That's actually a really good talking point. People even still now meet me or see me in person and they're like, hey, I saw your makeup videos. Like, it's so cool to meet you in person. And I'm like, oh, hey, who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like they'll say, hey, how's Squeak? And I have no idea who this person is.
And you're like, fuck, you know all about my kid.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, my 4-year-old's entire 4 years of her life. And I have no idea who you are. And looking back on that was just a bad decision on my part to broadcast her life as a child. But
but it's tough not to do because you're excited about your child.
Yeah.
You know,
so people like held this idea of me. And they would see me in person, and I felt like I had to live up to that at every moment. And then my brain said, if you don't live up to that, you're not doing a good job.
Because a lot of aspects in that social media, especially when you're doing it for like a business and stuff, again, is a mask.
Yes.
You're not portraying your true self, and now you have to live up to this self that you've been portraying online.
And that's a big reason that I got out of it. I couldn't uphold this image that, I mean, I feel like that's like a small scale celebrity. People you can't hold up this image that people have of you, and I couldn't change that image and people be okay with it. So I was like, you know what, like I'm not going to live this life anymore. That's just I want to pursue my yoga life. I want to be more aware of myself and teach people how to be aware, and that doesn't go together, so I'm done with it. Yeah,
and I can tell you from the conversations I've had with you, you definitely have more of a piece in that yoga/meditation life. You really do.
Yeah. It just feels more natural to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I still believe in Unique as a company. I still believe in multi-level marketing. It's just not for me.
Right. It's just not what you want to pursue.
Yeah. It was a period of my life, but not now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Well, you got anything else?
No, I feel like this was highly successful.
I agree. I really enjoyed this. It's actually kind of why I'm thinking about cutting it, because I don't want us to.
No, we could go on so many tangents.
We could go on so many tangents, and who knows whether it'd be good, whether it'd be bad. And I've loved every minute of this. So I want to leave with this. I want to thank you for coming on. I want you to shout out your social media, website, all that again.
Yeah, it's empowered.yoga on website and as well as Instagram. And Dave, thanks for all the support.
Oh,
It
always.
warms my heart every single time I hear you shout it out on the podcast. And thanks for having me. This has been great.
Yeah, I'm glad you did it. I'm glad because I know the first time you got a little
So nervous.
nervous. And I think that may have been part of what the scheduling conflict was, is you might have been a little nervous about it. You were like, well, I do have this other shit I have to take care of. I got to take care of this. And
Genuine scheduling conflicts as well as nerves. Yeah.
But I'm very happy that you finally came on and did it. I think it was awesome. And
Same.
Trey, thank you for coming and doing the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thanks
babe.
for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait to have you on as well.
Yeah,
So
it's gonna be a good one.
we'll you know what we'll do? We'll do one with me and you, then we'll do one with the three of us.
I like it.
Lots more good to come.
All right. Well, this is the Gathering of Fools. We're out.